ozone layer protection, and the implementation of the Montreal Protocol in Nigeria. The ozone layer is a concentration of ozone gas in the stratosphere, which serves as a shield that prevents dangerous ultraviolet rays of the sun from reaching the Earth's surface. The depletion of this important layer is caused by the release of certain man-made chemicals into the atmosphere, causing a reduction in its ozone concentration, leading to a hole known as the ozone hole. These chemicals are generally referred to as ozone-depleting substances, ODS. Examples of such chemicals include the following: chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, used as refrigerants in air conditioners and in the manufacture of foams; halons used for firefighting, carbon tetrachloride, CTC, and trichloroethene, TCA, used as solvents in the cleaning industry and as process agents; methyl bromide, used for fumigation and preservation in the agricultural industry; hydrofluorocarbons, HCFCs, used as substitutes for CFCs in the refrigeration and foam industry. Through the ozone hole, resulting from the depletion of the ozone layer by ozone-depleting substances, the dangerous ultraviolet rays of the sun penetrate and reach the Earth's surface. The harmful effects of ozone layer from UV rays include the following: skin cancer, eye cataracts, stunted growth of plants, damage to marine phytoplankton, reduction in animal immune system. As the depletion of the ozone layer is a global environmental problem, therefore, its protection is a global responsibility. That is why about 197 countries came together in Vienna and signed the Vienna Convention (VC) for the protection of the ozone layer in 1985 and its Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in 1987. Nigeria signed the Montreal Protocol in 1988 and ratified all its related amendments, including the Copenhagen, London, Montreal, Beijing, and Kigali amendments. The major measure to protect the ozone layer is the phase-out of the use of ozone-depleting substances in line with following target dates specified by the Montreal Protocol: CFCs, halons, CTC, with a phase-out target of 2010. This has been phased out in the country since 2010. Methyl bromide, TCA, with a phase-out target of 2015. This has been phased out in Nigeria since 2010. HCFCs, with a phase-out target of 97.5% by 2030, and while allowing for servicing an annual average of 2.5% during the period 2030 to 2040. The Montreal Protocol is the only multilateral environmental agreement (MEA) that has achieved universal ratification. The implementation of Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in Nigeria is intended to demonstrate Nigeria's commitment and leadership role, both internationally and nationally, on issues of ozone layer protection. Nigeria participated actively in the negotiations leading to the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol, as well as co-sponsored the resolution of Article 5 on the special needs of developing countries, by which the Multilateral Fund was established. Nigeria acceded to the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol on October the 31st, 1988, both of which entered into force on January 29, 1989. Since ratifying the protocol, Nigeria has continued to play an active role within its framework, more especially in the adoption of the Kigali Amendment in 2016 at the 28th Meeting of Parties MOP 28, where the then Honorable Minister proposed the name Kigali Amendment for the phase down of hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs. In short, Nigeria acceded to the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer in October 1988 and ratified all subsequent amendments, including the Kigali Amendment in 2018. For over 3 decades, the government has carried out activities leading the phase-out of ozone-depleting substances ODS, such as chlorofluorocarbons, halogens, carbon tetrachloride, and methyl bromide in 2010. Nigeria had put in place all the necessary structures required for the implementation of the protocol, amongst which is the setting up of the National Ozone Office under the Department of Pollution Control and Environmental Health of the Federal Ministry of Environment. The ministry is currently headed by the Honorable Minister, Malam Balarabe Abbas Lawal, whereas the current Permanent Secretary is Mahmoud Adam Kambari. The Department of Pollution Control and Environmental Health, which hosts the National Ozone Office, is headed by the current director, Engineer Bahijatu Abubakar. The National Ozone Office is in charge of planning, coordinating, data reporting, financial assistance management, supervising, and monitoring of the implementation of the country's ozone-depleting substances phase-out program, liaising with implementing agencies towards the successful implementation of ODS phase-out activities in the country. The office is headed by the current National Ozone Officer, Engineer Idris Abdullahi, a Deputy Director in the Department of Pollution Control and Environmental Health of the Federal Ministry of Environment. Among the key activities of the National Ozone Office is awareness raising among stakeholders on the protection of the ozone layer through the phase-out of ODS. Some of the awareness activities include the commemoration of the World Ozone Day, which is usually done on the 16th of September every year, to raise awareness amongst the general public on the importance of ozone layer protection and the efforts of the government and global community towards its preservation. On this day, the National Ozone Office carries out activities such as secondary schools' ozone outreach program, awareness road walk, media briefing, distribution of ozone awareness and promotional materials provided through the implementing agencies for the Montreal Protocol in Nigeria, such as UNDP and UNIDO. Data reporting on the production and consumption of ODS allows decision makers at the national, regional, and international levels to formulate appropriate control measures, devise realistic phase-out strategies, and provide the necessary financial and technical assistance required by developing countries. The National Ozone Office, in order to meet up with the data reporting target of the Montreal Protocol, usually collects annual ODS consumption data from stakeholder sources such as the Nigeria Customs Service and NAFDAC. This data is usually verified and submitted to the Ozone and MLF secretariats in conformity with the requirements of parties under the Montreal Protocol. The National Ozone Office also carries out monitoring of ODS phase-out projects at the beneficiary companies such as foam, refrigeration, air conditioning, and other related enterprises. As one of its statutory functions, the National Ozone Office usually participates at Montreal Protocol meetings, such as the Open-Ended Working Group OEWG meetings, the Meeting of Parties MOP, African Ozone, MLF Executive Committee EXCOM, where issues regarding the implementation of the Montreal Protocol are discussed, decisions drafted and endorsed for implementation. National Ozone Office have also carried out capacity building programs which include several trainings of its staff and study tour. Having completed the phase-out of CFCs and others in 2010, the MLF for the Montreal Protocol approved the HPMP project for the country at the 62nd meeting of the Executive Committee in 2010, with UNDP and UNIDO as the lead and cooperating agencies for the project. The objective of the project is to completely phase out 344.9 ODP tons of HCFCs by 2040. It includes a combination of activities such as training on safe use of HCFC alternatives, capacity building of customs for effective control of ODS importation, and other investment activities, including conversion of production and manufacturing companies to the use of HCFC alternatives in the manufacture of rigid polyurethane foam. The project implementation modality is in stages. The Stage 1 of the HPMP project achieved 10% reduction in HCFC's consumption in Nigeria in 2015, with the following main activities carried out: upgrade of system house at Vitapor for the formulation of methyl formate-based pre-blended polyols in the polyurethane foam sector, which was implemented by UNDP, completed and commissioned in September 2020. Supply and distribution of 75 foaming machines to selected ice-making machine manufacturers, implemented by UNIDO. Trainings were also conducted for 34 ice-making manufacturers on foaming techniques using hand mixing method and safe operation using ozone-friendly blowing agents. This was concluded in March 2019. Establishment of a pilot plant for the production of high-grade hydrocarbon refrigerants to be used as alternatives to HCFCs in the RAC sector. This was implemented by the ministry in collaboration with UNDP. The plant was completed and commissioned in November 2015. In June 2018, at the 81st Executive Committee meeting, the Stage 2 of the HPMP project was approved by the MLF EXCOM, aiming to phase out 51.35% HCFCs by 2023. UNDP is the lead agency for the implementation of Stage 2 HPMP, while UNIDO is the cooperating agency and Italy is a bilateral agency. The Stage 2 HPMP continues within its overarching strategy to take account of difficulties encountered, experience gained, and lessons learned in the implementation of the Stage 1 program. The project implementation of the project, which is still ongoing, has so far led to the achievement of the following: completion and commissioning of the conversion of production line at Slavit Limited, Lagos, from the use of HCFC 141B, an ozone-depleting substance, to cyclopentane, an ozone-friendly substance, in the manufacture of rigid polyurethane foam. This has led to the phase-out of 96 metric tons of HCFC 141B in the foam sector. Training of 30 trainers and 80 technicians on safe refrigeration and air conditioning practices, using natural refrigerants and improving